first, this is The View with Catherine Chang. Today's topics are the breaking up of United States and Hong Kong and all you can buy. First, I want to talk about the breaking up of United States and Hong Kong. U.S. President Donald Trump announced last Saturday that he decided to end all the trade offers to Hong Kong, including Hong Kong's independent special tax status and extradition law and export restrictions. Trump emphasized, and this is a tragedy for Hong Kong with the measure of national security law. China has smothered Hong Kong's freedom. 15 hours later, Hong Kong authorities refuted with a 1,000-word statement. And this statement wrote how Trump said that Hong Kong is now one country, two system is completely wrong. And this is obviously double standard and two-faced. Well, what a serious accusation. Seems like the Hong Kong and the United States is like a couple that it's about to break up or even getting a divorce. And the situation worsen the situation is because we know in the United States the death of Floyd, caused kind of protests in 22 states. And what is interesting is whether China in any way involved in this chaos. Two possibilities. For what is going on in the United States, I think, first, it happened naturally, and no one is manipulating anything. And China is only 见缝插针, what we say, sticking in a pin whether there is room. And second, there are certain groups that are manipulating behind this. Will China be part of them or other anti-U.S. forces? Now, China and U.S. both have their problems. China has a problem of Hong Kong, and U.S. need to deal with the death of George Floyd. And what about Taiwan? I think Taiwan plays an important role in the Sino-U.S. and Hong Kong relations. Second, I want to talk about what is all you can buy. We heard about what you can eat. And what is all you can buy? What I'm talking about is a medical mask. In Taiwan, starting from today, no more kind of a mask restrictions. Both supermarkets and convenience stores, you can buy medical masks with no limits. And Taiwanese people can now ship masks aboard with no limitation too. Of course, Taiwan did a great job in precautionary measures, and Taiwan does not have any domestic cases for 50 consecutive days. Taiwan's mask production proves that Taiwan can help. Now, Taiwan is going to stimulate the economic and set a Taiwan model for post-coronavirus life. Taiwan will also be the pioneer of the phrase. And here are the top stories. Today, we have one imported confirmed case from the United States. Last week, I want to talk about the big issue in the United States. A tragedy happened in the United States. George Floyd, a 24-year-old African-American man, died after being arrested by police outside a shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The United States has been, kind of consoled by a nationwide protest over the death of George Floyd. And BBC News article said, George Floyd, what happened in the final moments of his life? It began, kind of things as saying that. It began with a report of a fake $20 bill. Mr. Floyd bought a pack of cigarettes from a Cup Foods, a grocery store, and believing the $20 bills used to be counterfeit. A store employee just, reported it to the police. And you know that shortly after the call, two police officers arrived and Floyd kind of said, I can't breathe, and calling for his mother. It's really sad because his mother died 2 years ago. And what he said, he keeps saying repeatedly, please, pleading for his mother and begging, please, please, please. And Mr. Floyd, according to BBC, was, restrained by officers, while Mr. Sharvin is one of the target we're talking about, the policeman, placed his knee, kind of left knee between his head and neck. For 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Mr. Sharvin kept his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. About 6 minutes into that period, Mr. Floyd become already, non-responsive. He kind of got in a coma or maybe probably dead. And protesters took to the streets across the United States to express their concern and anger over the death of George Floyd. And you can see the places, of protests include California, Colorado, Georgia, Illinois. Illinois, we know that the city of Chicago, they now have a curfew with no end. And Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana. And talking about New York, the daughter of the New York City mayor was arrested too, and also Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, etc., and even the White House. What is Trump's reaction? I want to see what Trump's reaction. Trump responds to White House protesters, saying they would have been met with vicious dogs. That's what Trump tweeted. And he said, "Great job last night at the White House by the U.S. Secret Service. The front line was replaced with fresh agents like magic. Nobody came close to breaching the fence. If they had, they would have been greeted with the most vicious dogs and, most armaments weapons I have ever seen." That clearly Trump really want to put an end to all the protests. 5,000 National Guard troops in 15 states and D.C. kind of activated. But China seemed to be a part of this mess. Chinese state media said that, what he said that the Chinese media said that, like CCTV say, U.S. hits back at American support for Hong Kong protests. What does it have anything to do with the Hong Kong protests? The United States Department spokesperson Morgan Ortega's tweeted her thoughts regarding the people in Hong Kong, and Chinese Foreign Minister华春瑩just said that, she's a spokeswoman of the Chinese ministry. He said, wrote, "I can't breathe." It's kind of ironic, these words, "I can't breathe," is what George Floyd said before he died. And华春瑩used this to mock the United States for facing the same situation as Hong Kong now in the United States. Also, the Chinese netizens are very busy now spreading the hashtag, what we say, the Stand With USA all over the internet, because it originally is like Stand With Hong Kong and becomes Stand With USA. And we know there is a 光复香港时代革命. It's liberate Hong Kong and the era for revolution. And they have been changed to the liberate US and the era for revolution. And it wrote, "No rioters, only tyranny." Except for this, people will talk about who and what organization were possible behind the whole protest in the United States. Hu Xijing, editor-in-chief of Chinese and English editors of the Global Times, said that, "I highly suspect that Hong Kong rioters have infiltrated American states, attacking police stations, smashing shops, blocking roads, breaking public facilities. These are all routine in their protest." What they made that in the protest in Hong Kong. Vicious Hong Kong rioters obviously are mastermind of violent protests across the United States. But I don't agree with him. I think this is not logical. Why will Hong Kong rioters infiltrate U.S. when U.S. is one of the countries that supports Hong Kong's freedom the most? That doesn't make sense. Well, now, let's take a look at the picture that went viral on Weibo. But actually, this is not true. You can see that this is a CCP flag. It indicates that the flag of CCP, Chinese Communist Party, show up in the protest in Missouri. But actually, it's not true. This picture has nothing to do with the protest of George Floyd. So stop making up stories. And also, I wanted to add on that Taiwan, US, and Japan celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Global Cooperations and Training Framework that we call GCTF. And they went together. You can see that this is this morning, and this is the director of the American Institute in Taiwan Taipei office, William Brand Christensen. And this is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Joseph Wu, and also the Japan-Taiwan Exchange Association Taipei office, Mr. Hiroshi Izumi, Quan Yutai. Three of them together, and they want to continue to collaborate in the future. Well, it is a very significant move for today. Well, this will be today's The View. How is your Monday? I hope everything is fine. I feel great. Let's work on it. And I want to say, God bless America. I'll see you tomorrow.